Hello and happy days to you folks. I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day today. Today on Saturday, I do reviews of older serials in the movie and TV genres like Doctor Who on the TV side of things from the 60s, or on the movie side of things like Flash Gordon, Tarzan, that sort of thing too. This week, I did The Lost City. It was an independent one, 12 chapters long, very long in the time. It was in mid-30s, and it was set in Africa, and it had a lot of issues, racist, misogynist, and that sort of a thing too. And so this one, The Phantom Rider, 1946, is next. I thought it would be nice, this is a Western, right? It's by Republic. One of the key things in this era, this would be kind of a nicer return to form. And it was. So this is a much shorter 167 minutes. For you folks, it stars as the Phantom Rider, Dr. Jim Sterling, too, is Robert Kent. For you folks, also stars Peggy Stewart as Doris Shannon. She's a school teacher. And then as Leroy Mason as Fred Carson. He's the guy who owns and runs for the government in the reservation where this is taking place. I think it's called the Indian Tree Reservation. I've got that written later. But he's the guy who runs it for the government, and has built great relationships up with them too. He also stars George Lewis, a very, very common name for you folks. He did like a lot of Tarzan and stuff as Blue Feather. He's a Mexican guy, and then Ken Duncan as Ken Brady. For you folks, lots of it's written by a few people: Albert Dumont, Basil Dickey, Jesse Duffy, Lynn Perkins, and Barney. I want to make sure I pronounce that name correctly. Strachey. For you folks, and then it's directed by two: Spencer Gordon Bennett, and Fred C. Bannon. Those are all very, very common names in this era, for this era. So like I mentioned before, this is a Western period piece, just after the Indian Wars were over. But bad white actors are causing problems and stirring up issues. This is white in tree, in reservations, sorry, not Indian tree. And there are, I'll link you to in the description below, and was just posted like a couple of weeks ago, just as a heads up. There are some folks here that are attacking and destroying, and then there's a movement politically to get the locals here, a native police that they can run and crew and get information from. They can do patrols, arrest people, and then send them back to the folks, and that sort of thing too. And so that's basically the key concept of what's happening here, right? And that sort of a thing too. And the bad guys are like that, right? Who are regularly causing these issues and stirring up trouble, right? And they're leaders, and they're not gonna, right? Like they have to get voted on by the local populace in a majority vote, and they're not going to let Native Americans run, arrest white people. They're not going to happen. But actually, they're surprised, right? And so basically, and then we have an old tale here with the Phantom Rider that comes in and helps out these natives in their times of need, which this definitely is. So our protagonist is a white doctor, and the one who I mentioned before, he's our protagonist, and that sort of thing too. He's also a local white singer, just as a heads up. All right, so all of the natives that I saw, I looked up quickly, were either Mexicans and Hispanic, or actually run by natives, weirdly enough. It's funny, right after The Lost City, which had a lot of those issues, with a lot of white face or Middle Eastern face, and then a couple of weeks ago, Trader Tom, the South China disease, which is pretty much no Asian actors in it but Bond, and that person's a Sir Herman. And so it's a little weird. It's nice to see that. Alright, so the stunts here are done incredibly well. They really pushed it to the next level. They actually did some stunts that weren't inside part of the script, and that sort of a thing too. On this, right as they're feeling it, they actually kept it in the final products. This was done all by Republic actors, right? And directors, writers, it was all internal. So they definitely knew each other by now, and they definitely really worked together. Had some great charisma. You could show it on the screen too. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. For you folks, this is definitely a return to basics for you folks. But there you are. Have you watched this? And if so, what did you think about it? Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below for you folks. As a reminder, I do a lot of, what I mentioned to tell you before I did that, is that remember, I'm not coming from a place of expertise, right? I'm not somebody who went to film school. I don't make films for a living, right? None of that stuff. So I'm just a fan. So that means I'm not coming to you. Your opinions really are as well as mine. So let me know what those thoughts are. And then, like I mentioned before, finding these older things that were definitely sort of a different method of storytelling that we might have forgotten about, right, in our passion for new movies, new TV shows. And that's sort of a thing too, that are simpler, regular, easier to digest with the time. They definitely sold out seats back then, and they were sort of the water cooler talk of that era, but they're just forgotten too. So, but basically what you would typically do then is, instead of today, you would go then to a double feature with an A and B picture, kind of like sometimes you might do, in some places, or some like outside theaters, like drive-ins and that sort of a thing too. But this would be community theaters, bigger city theaters, all that stuff too. You do this and you go with friends, family, co-workers, schoolmates, church mates, all that stuff. Everybody would go together so they could talk about it. And then you have a few shorts. Today all the shorts would be trailers, but trailers were actually very expensive back then. Most movies just didn't have the budget for them, not even for some A pictures. So it was very, very rare that you would have those. But then you also have newsreels, and then also some shorter cartoons like Steamboat Willie, that sort of thing. That's where this came from. So you have a few shorts, and then an A picture, another couple of shorts. And then you have a serial, head to the intermission, come back for the B picture, more shorts, another serial, and then finish out. And again, those serials will draw people back. Those cliffhangers became sort of this, how's this person going to survive? And this is very, very fair with that. So that was good stuff. I don't think that this pushed the concepts of rewriting the good stuff for you folks. Alrighty, and then yesterday I did my top 10 of my 7th top 10s of my favorite short stories that I've read in my entire life. So you can check it out too. On Wednesday, I do older video game reviews typically, although I just did a DLC that was just released like a couple weeks ago. It's a sorcery pack DLC from Planet Coaster 2, so you can check that out too. Although I did Guild Wars 1 for its 20th anniversary a couple weeks ago, so you can check out that stuff too. On Monday, I do reviews of older tabletop RPGs like Dungeons & Dragons or Battletech in the War Games set of things. So you can check out those too. I just did X7's The War Wraths of Kron. I'm currently in the Back Me series from AD&D4, and so I'll be continuing the X series, although I've already reviewed actually. So you can check it out. I saw ahead to the next ones too for you folks. And then the other 3 days a week, I do things like in the that you read that are older in the 3 genres that we cover: fantasy, science fiction, and horror too. All been on the box for you folks. And so if those things sound like your cup of tea, well then great, welcome to the channel. Have a seat, do all the YouTube stuff too while you're here, please. Hit the subscribe button, like, all that stuff too. And then as you can tell from finding these 7 things, as well as the occasional Let's Plays too, one of which I did earlier today, you can find those things on this channel. It's definitely the passion for this too, right? All up and down the box for you folks. And so you can check it out. Let me know what your thoughts are. And then head to do stuff too. And then also, as you can tell, and again, like I mentioned before in the intro, it's even worse. The name comes from the worst thing about new books, a quote by a French philosopher. But then again, in our passion for that new stuff, we sometimes have forgotten. These things are standing on the shoulders of giants like cereals. Right? Open up mics. Alrighty. There you go. And I want to thank you so very, very much for just taking some time out of your day and investing, right, and watching my videos, because we all have so many things, right, that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions too. So if you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate that so very, very much. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.